Welcome to WTDC-25, the World's Telecommunication Development Conference being held here in Baku in Azerbaijan. I've got the great pleasure of being joined in the studio today by the Honourable Samuel Nartey George, who is the Minister of Communication, Digital Technology and Innovation for Ghana. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
It's a great pleasure to have you. Now, let me start off by asking you a little bit about this event, WTDC-25. You're taking the time to be here. I wanted to ask you, why is this event important to you?
Well, thank you. I think the WTDC, whether 25 or any of the previous ones, is a critical part of bridging the digital divide, and especially for those of us in developing countries, it's critical for us because the WTDC helps us to structure and frame the strategies going forward, in helping us to work on bridging our digital divide, making sure that there's access to digital services for our citizens, access to affordable communication technology and all of that. So the WTDC is a perfect platform for us to have all of these conversations, especially with some of the agencies of the ITU, like the BDT, which is very critical for some of us in the developing world.
The Telecommunication Development Bureau.
Absolutely,
yeah.
Where we do a lot of work. And Ghana has been a long-standing member of the ITU, and WTDC is one of the areas where we're able to sit with our multilateral partners and bilateral partners and have conversations. I've had a number of bilateral meetings. And so the WTDC is a perfect melting pot for us to meet with all kinds of stakeholders who it would normally be difficult to either fly and meet or bring into Accra. Yeah. But this is a perfect place for us to meet and have conversations on the kinds of partnerships that help us bridge the digital divide and make sure that unserved and underserved areas of our country get access to some of this trainings and facilities that are available.
Now, the last WTDC was in Kigali. There was a Kigali action plan that was forged there. I wanted to ask you, has much changed in the last 4 years?
Pretty much. A lot has changed. I mean, the partnership between Ghana and the ITU has yielded some kind of results. We agreed with the ITU through the BDT to run and set up digital transformation centers. 200 of them have been set up in Ghana. Over 14,000 people have gone through these training centers, largely female entrepreneurs and persons with disabilities and people from underprivileged demographics in the country. And so one of the key benefits for us is that a critical mass of female entrepreneurs, a critical mass of young people and persons with disabilities are going through this approximately 200 digital training centers that Ghana has, thanks to our partnership with the ITU, that's helping us to transform the access to the training and the resources that these young Ghanaians are getting. And I keep saying that, especially with a focus on females, women entrepreneurs, the ministry's got a Girls in ICT program, again, an offspring of the ITU. This year, we've trained over 3,000 girls and 300 teachers. We've set up almost 30 ICT cyber labs as a result of the work that we're doing. But over the period, we've trained over 10,000 girls in ICT. And for us, it's fantastic because when you look at Ghana as a country, this year we're growing at 6% of our GDP. But that growth is largely driven by SMEs.
Right.
And 68% of our SMEs are run by women. And so you empower women, you drive the economy. And for us, you cannot empower women in a way that's not digital, because today many of those young women are actually trading on digital platforms. And so that's the power of what we're doing with the ITU, training those girls using our Universal Access Fund and the partnership that's called GIFEC, and the Universal Access Fund that's our Universal Access Fund, and then the partnership that we have with ITU.
Now, you mentioned Accra before. I mean, I imagine connectivity there is pretty good, but of course, in the rural areas, they're always suffering. I just wanted to find out, what are the inroads that you're making there?
So we've rolled out a project we call the RTP2. That's the second iteration of it, the Rural Telephony Project, right, where we're connecting 2,016 sites, which is supposed to bring about 4 million Ghanaians who were hitherto unconnected connected. So far, we've completed about 1,600 of those sites. There's about 416 of those sites to be completed, hopefully before end of year. And so for us, bridging that gap is critical. And as minister, over the last 8 months, what we're trying to do is even transform these sites, because most of these rural telephony sites are 2G, 3G enabled. Right. We're trying to make them 4G enabled, 5G ready. Because right now we realize that the real power of connectivity is not just in voice, but it's in data, reliable high-speed data.
High speed, actually, absolutely, yes, indeed. It's true, because, I mean, we're getting so used to nowadays of accessing that data at very fast speeds, particularly when we're in urban areas. But as I say, exactly. So that's definitely, I'm sure, something which I can understand that you would be focusing on. And what about training as well? And what about the older? Let's say the older members of the population.
We're running digital literacy campaigns all over the country. Right. These are very critical for us because, again, the more you digitize your economy and put e-government services or government services online and make them e-government services, you cannot. No. You see, we keep saying that technology must not deepen the divide; it must bridge the divide.
Exactly.
And so, as you put all of the services online, you cannot leave the older demographics of your society out. You need to put them online, and you need to not just put them online, but teach them the right cyber hygiene, because now they're beginning to leave digital footprints. They're beginning to make payments using mobile money, which is financial inclusion, which we drive very much in Ghana. But the more you put people online and begin to carry out financial transactions, then they also become susceptible to all the kinds of fraud that's online. And so it's critical for us. October was our cybersecurity awareness month.
Right.
Where we did a lot of training in secondary schools, in communities, in marketplaces, to make sure that our older demographics, not the Gen Zs. The Gen Zs seem to catch up on this very quickly, but we've got a demographic that we refer to jokingly in Ghana as BBC.
Oh, right.
Born before computers.
Born before computers. Very good. I like it.
We try to make them understand and appreciate what it means to go online and how to make sure that they're safe online, because it's not just our responsibility to put them online, it's our responsibility to keep them safe online. Because for everybody who gets attacked online and loses money or loses identity online, it has a ripple effect of driving away more people from that demographic from going online. So to keep them online, we need to keep them safe. And so that's what we're doing. We're doing the training with that. But one of the most important training models which we're rolling out from January next year is what we call the 1 Million Coders Program.
Right.
Ghana has this as a flagship project of His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama, our president, where we're training a million young Ghanaians. We call it 1 million coders, but basically it's digital skills for the future. Okay. So data forensics, data annotation, cybersecurity, cloud computing, artificial intelligence. We're training them in those skill sets because we realize that with artificial intelligence and the development of technology, you're going to begin to have some jobs become obsolete.
Yes.
But then the new jobs that are opening up. So what we're trying to do is to reskill, upskill, and skill. So for those who don't have the skill at all, give them some skill. For those who have some kind of digital skill that's going to become obsolete, reskill them. And for those who are already in that field, upskill them. So if the person is intermediary or beginner, move them to advanced. So that's what we're doing, and we're going to do this across all 276 districts, constituencies in Ghana, to ensure that in all of our rural communities and urban areas, we've got what we call the community information centers. We're turning these centers into 360-degree ICT hubs, where the training is going to happen, where telemedicine is going to happen, and where e-education is going to happen. So these are the kinds of things that we're doing in Ghana, and the IT is a critical partner in all this interventions that we're rolling out.
I'm very glad to hear it. Finally, is there a message that you'd like to convey to the participants here at WTDC-25 as well as our wider audience?
Well, the WTDC is not a Photoshop event. I mean, it's not one of those events where you just come to take photos and say that I was also here. It's important that we pay attention to the work of the study groups, ensure, especially for those of us from the developing world, ensure that the text of many of the agreements and the protocols speak to our real and lived needs and solutions. This is one of the few places where our voice really counts, because the ITU is able to give chairmanship of many of the study groups to countries like Ghana and countries from the developing world. And so we take advantage of this and use that to shape the change and policy that we want to see. And so the WTDC is a critical tool for any digital minister or any ICT minister to shape the narrative and policy to affect positively the people that we serve. And I think that the ITU must be congratulated for the work that you do in making sure that this happens, be it either at WTDC, be it at Council in Geneva, or whether we're going to PP, wherever we meet. I think that the ITU must be commended for making sure that you put and give everybody equitable voice. The voice of the developed and the voice of the developing are one and the same at the ITU. And I think that it must remain that way going forward, and we're grateful for that opportunity.
Well, thank you for lending your voice to us here at the studio, and we look forward to catching up with you again very soon at one of the other ITU events, which I'm sure you'll be attending. Thank you.
Pleasure's mine. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. And if you've enjoyed this interview, then do check out our other interviews on our YouTube channel, our podcast, wherever you get your podcasts from. And for further information, visit our website at www.itu.inc/WTDC25. Thanks for tuning in. That was really good.